This is the Boca Chica Canal, and that's looking to the north, more or less, and to the south. Back to Big Coppet Key. Okay, this is the Shark Channel. And there's a bit of the old causeway right next to us. Hard to get a good view of it, but it's right there. Another place where the bike trail alongside the road goes on to an old part of the causeway. And again. Since there used to be a railroad that came out here, I'm wondering if the right-of-way of the bike trail that runs along here is on that old railroad right-of-way. That's what I meant to say. Pretty windy out here. Channel. And we're on to Park Key. So this is just a little bit of the Florida Keys Overseas Heritage Trail. I've pulled off to the side of the road so I can get a better look at what it looks like. So this is part of the old causeway, and it's divided up into bike lanes. And I think people can fish along the sides of it. I guess that's what it's marked off for, although I can't make out the texture symbols. but that's clearly marked for pedestrians and cyclists. More of the old causeway right next to us. On to Cujo Key, or Cujo Key. Not sure which it is. Alright, it's going to be a little hard to hear over the wind out here. This is another segment of the old causeway, right next to the new causeway. And even though this is signed as being part of the bike trail, this section is closed. This is the Niles channel. This is the same place I was just at. Crossing the Niles channel now. So there's a narrow bridge on the left, which I presume is an old railway bridge. There we go. Now it's a bike trail. Coming down a bike path here before this somewhat longer stretch of causeway. We're going to get a good view of the old steel bridge. And there it is on the right. And there it is on the right. bridge because of the concrete. It appears to not be a railroad bridge because of the concrete railings that I don't suppose would have been there if it was a railroad bridge. Okay, reading from the Wikipedia site, this is the Bahia Honda Rail Bridge. It's a derelict railroad bridge in the lower Florida Keys connecting Bahia Honda Key with Spanish Harbor Key. It was originally part of the Overseas Railway, but the state of Florida purchased it from the Florida East Coast Railway after the 1935 Labor Day hurricane and converted it for automobile use as part of the Overseas Highway in 1938. After a replacement Bahia Honda Bridge was opened in 1972, 2 spans of the old bridge were removed for the safety of boat traffic and to prevent pedestrian access to unsafe parts of the bridge. So, originally it would have been a truss type span, it looks like, because we saw parts of the lower deck, and presumably the railroad just went across. Oops, I'm drifting off with my zoom. Presumably the railroad just went along at the level not much above the concrete foundations there. And then it looks like they actually built the concrete upper on top of the truss structure. So that was after it was converted for use as a road. 2 very narrow lanes, probably a low speed limit. Pretty iffy road if you ask me, but pretty cool. Very interesting structure. So not really a terribly tall bridge. It looks taller when viewed from certain angles, but yeah, you can see how the original truss structure was there, and the railroad would have just run across the bottom of the trusses, and then they just jury-rigged that upper deck on there for the cars. Pretty cool. And there was that one section removed on the west or south end that we saw, and then this would be the other section that they removed on the east or north end. Now there's a state park here, and I may loop around there and see if I can get a couple views of this structure from the other end. Bahia Honda State Park. Okay, I'm over here at Bahia Honda State Park, and there's a Trail here that goes up on the bridge. Had it not been for the clickety-clack of the wheels on the rails, I could have imagined myself on a ship. Concrete piers and steel spans support the railway bed of this bridge, which is more than 5,000 feet long. The Overseas Railroad. Our first stop is the railroad Henry Flagler built between 1905 and 1919 or 1912. The Bahia Honda Channel was a challenge when connecting the Florida mainland to Key West. The water is 30 feet deep. It's no surprise that Bahia Honda means deep bay in Spanish. This depth caused swift currents and created obstacles during construction of the railroad. Some workdays were reduced to 2 45-minute shifts to allow work on the bridge during the changing tides. Out to sea in an automobile on a road through the Atlantic Ocean from a 1935 Chevrolet newsreel. By 1938, the railroad was gone. In its place stretched the Overseas Highway. The economic decline of the Great Depression and the devastation brought about by the Labor Day hurricane of 1935 created construction delays on what is now U.S. Highway 1. The Labor Day hurricane is one of the strongest recorded hurricanes that has ever made landfall on Earth. Category 5 forces on September 2, 1935 washed away both the railroad and the highway, leaving only support posts shown here. Even rescue efforts were unsuccessful against this power. The highest bridge at 65 feet, the highway was built over the causeways and bridges of the Overseas Railroad. At Bahia Honda Key, the railway bed inside the truss was too narrow for 2 lanes of automobile traffic. Instead, workers built the road on top of the bridge trusses 65 feet above the water. This lasted until 1972 when an expanded highway route opened. The trail here actually used to be part of U.S. Highway 1, the Overseas Highway. Here's a old photo of what it looked like coming down the slope of the highway along the top of the railroad trusses. So we just have to imagine this trail here being US Highway 1, a very narrow road at this point, and then going up onto this seemingly very high bridge, and 65 feet above the water is nothing to sneeze at. But obviously this bit of roadbed here is not the one that was in service when this was a highway. This is obviously much newer. got a section further out that for some reason is now unsafe. Here's another way to get a shot of the bridge. This little jetty from the beach. Lots of fossils in here. Or at least coral remnants. Okay, I'm leaving Bahia Honda State Park, and it looks like there's one more good place to see a vintage part of the railway and or original Highway 1 bridge on the east end of Little Dock Key. The weather has improved significantly since we left Key West. It's nice and dry, it's sunny kind of, but very windy. It's almost howling sometimes. Still, it's warm enough. The car thermometer says it's 83 degrees. Feels considerably warmer than that. I'm standing on Little Duck Key, and here is a part of the old causeway. And I think this is that stretch that's 7 miles long. What are they called? 7 Mile Bridge or whatever. 7 miles something. I just parked down there on the little parking area. This appears to be a bike trail now, but apparently this is only half of the roadway. It's not wide enough for 2 cars. I suppose it's also possible that this bridge might be part of the old railroad bridge instead of the highway bridge. So here I am, I don't know what this is, 1.5 miles or something from the quay. And here's as far as this goes. And then there's a gap. And then Okay, as should be apparent from the last scene, this was indeed the highway bridge that I'm on. It's just that the new deck that's out here for pedestrians and fishermen and cyclists is narrower than the original roadway deck. But based upon the way it looks from the end, it looks like the piers are probably original. And we could see that scene that we just had, which showed the original deck and what that looked like at the same height and alignment as this piece of bridge here. My mother called me while I was out there at the end. She always calls me when I'm on vacation, likes to chat, and ask me where I am. And I told her about the Bahia Bridge, and she said, "Oh yeah, when you were 4 years old, we drove out there on our one and only trip from Cocoa Beach to the Keys, or to Key West and back. I think it was only a day trip, or maybe it was a 2-day trip, but certainly not a long trip, and they didn't do anything except drive down and turn around and come back." And she has a vague recollection of being scared witless going over that high bridge on top of the railroad trestles. So I have gone across that, even though I can't do it now. And according to the years that the signage said that that road over the top was in use, it would have been the only way I could have gotten to the Keys at the time when I went there with my parents. The water here is absolutely gorgeous. That beautiful shade of green, and generally very clear. Off in the distance, there are some other islands out there. It's not clear to me whether those islands are also considered to be keys or if they are something totally different. Lighter green areas are where it's shallow and there's no flora on the bottom, and the darker areas where there's either seagrass or other flora on the ocean floor or the sea floor here, or there are rocks or something else, and also where it's just deeper. So there's a very sharp change, but I can see from here that just below the surface is seagrass or something equivalent. I can see it swaying in the currents, and down there are some big rocks or something. Somebody's got themselves a little secluded hermit-type hideaway there. It looks like a shack, but it might actually be okay. But the rest of the island looks kind of crappy. It's like if they had any money, they could tear all that rotted, dead stuff out and plant some palm trees or something. And it might be kind of a nice little island. Well, it only took me 15 minutes to walk back from the end to where this bridge section starts. So it seemed longer going out. Okay, continuing from Little Duck Key, from whence that section of the causeway I just walked on goes, and now we're on to 7 Mile Bridge. And I'm going to concentrate on the bridge itself now instead of looking off to the sides. There's the gap in the old causeway. And there's the old causeway. on the left is the place where it goes from the masonry pillars, or whatever they're called, to a steel structure. Dusty out here. And we're down to a restricted speed of 45 miles an hour. And we're down to 35 miles an hour. There's a road construction ahead. Carefully on the old causeway, you can see a place where there's a sort of a T intersection on it that slopes down to apparently a small pier. So I don't know if that's some place where they could dock boats and then get to and from the causeway. Pigeon Key. So obviously there's a small operation down there, and then it looks like they're doing some kind of maintenance on the bridge going forward, like they're trying to renovate the upper deck of the old causeway. Anyway, back to the 7 Mile Bridge. yeah, they've repainted the steel structure of the bridge, so I don't think they would do that if they weren't planning on keeping it viable. Okay, we're on Marathon again. Just about one short block off of the overseas highway, Highway 1. That's my room up there. Just a bunch of these little 2- and 4-room single and double decker structures scattered around. One parking space per room, it looks like. Cuban sandwich. Alright, so it's Friday, the 21st of May, 2021, and I'm up in my hideaway. It's not a hotel, it's not an inn, it's not a guest house, it's a hideaway. Captain Pip's Marina and Hideaway in Marathon. Perfectly reasonable room. And you've got this outside, which unfortunately, since I'm not staying any longer, I can't do much about to enjoy it, but the place looks kind of ratty from the road, but I was pretty pleased with the location, the price, and the general Keys vibe. All modern amenities, air conditioning, TV, microwave, coffee, toaster, refrigerator. Morning.
Morning.
It's about 8:50 in the morning. I've left my overnight accommodation. I'm heading northeast on Highway 1. I'm still on Marathon Key. My next planned stop is the Florida Everglades to revisit something I did as a kid. At least I think it's the same thing I did as a kid. So that's a nostalgic thing. I'll talk more about that when I get there. And I'm just passing the Marathon Airport, which I stopped at earlier to inquire about helicopter sightseeing rides and visiting the small EAA museum there. Coming up on Indian Key. But it says fill. I wonder if that means that they're adding extra fillage to extend the key. Something like that. Yeah, the actual name on the map is Indian Key Fill. Huh. At about 9:30, passing through Isla Mirada Key. I think it's the name of the key. Definitely the name of the town. Anyway, it's the name that's on everything you see here. It's raining off there. And we're coming on to Plantation Key. And there is, in fact, just a little bit of precipitation around here. At 9:50, I'm on to Key Largo. Cross Key at this point. Okay, at 10:15, we're finally back on the mainland. Don't comment on things like this, but this joker here in the white SUV, I could see him in my rear view mirror. It's a one-lane road each direction, and he was weaving onto the left shoulder and the right shoulder and just cutting in and out with abandon, really trying really hard to get going. I suppose maybe he's a emergency professional or something on his way to something. It could be, but he wasn't even bothering to signal or anything. So I think he's just a person who feels like he wants to be going faster than everybody else. But then he got stuck behind this camper for quite a while. I almost wanted to cheer.